Alright, so you may have seen out on the channel where I replaced this power steering pump out on a visiting 650i that came to the shop. There really wasn't anything wrong with the pump. They're really robust, well made, but the front seal was leaking like a sieve, probably from some contamination or over the years, it had a few miles on the car. And you look around and you can't really find a rebuild kit for these, but I just hate to throw this thing away because it's a good pump. All it needs is a seal up front. Maybe the bearings are bad, things like that, or maybe some inner seals need replacing. Pulley plate on the back is pressed on, so we're going to have to either heat it up or pull real hard or something to get that off. And that may be why they don't have kits for them, because it's a little bit harder to rebuild this type because you have to have some way of getting that pressed on pulley plate off there. And we'll see inside, I don't know, usually the bushings or the bearings or whatever's in there, those have to be pulled out. Most time you can get to them though. So we got a little work ahead of us, but no big deal. Like I say, I hate to throw it away because it's a good pump. And if I can rebuild it or figure out how to rebuild it, then maybe somebody else can take the option of rebuilding it versus just tossing it and replacing the pump out. So we'll get set up and figure out how we're going to get this thing apart, what all's involved, see if we can get the seals, and then see if we can do this rebuild. So right there is the part number for this tandem pump, and like I say, new it's over $1,000, so it's a pretty expensive pump. It'd be nice to see if I could just put a new seal in the front of it, then maybe we'd be all right. So we're going to get set up here and we're going to torch this thing. Now when I hit it with the heat, I'm going to have to put so much heat on it apparently because it's pressed on. It's going to ruin that seal, but we don't have to do all of this to get it back on there. I can heat this off of it and then slide it back on. So let me get the air compressor on and we're going to set up and try to torch this thing off here. Like that. Now let's see if we can walk it out. Almost got it off with that heating. Let's give it one more. Now I can get some water in the inside of that shaft because it's got a divot in it. And I'll heat up the outside and then we should be able to pop that out there. So. And there we go. So we got that pulley off of there. Definitely was press fit. So now, see we didn't get too hot. So all that still looks good. And our little pump still turns. So now we got that off, we can get these bolts off and start taking things apart. So let's go over to the bench now that we got Mr. Pulley off there. And let's just see what's inside this pump and can you possibly put a new seal in the front of it and get this thing back to working again. With our little pulley hub removed here, now we can start taking this pump apart. The one thing to note right here is a little circle that's in it, and when that pulley was on there it was lined up to the big one. So when I put it back on there I got to line those up because it's probably a balancer or something for this pump. Alright, so let's get started by taking off the accumulator. And off comes the little accumulator. So let's put all his bolts together. Alright, so that's got everything off the sides right here, so we should be able to pop this top off and start splitting these pieces out. So now we just got to get a hammer and thumping. See if we can start breaking the pieces loose. So the first piece comes off the top. So we just got to thump in, break in free. And then there's that piece, and you can see it's got a funny looking O-ring. So I'm going to have to look and see if I can find these seals. Right here, there's nothing on the bottom, just on the top. Yeah, so that one's on there solid. So now we got to flip it over and take those 4 out on the other side, and then we should be able to get it repaired. But yeah, this one's got 2 seals. So it's got the seal on the outside, and then it's got a little seal on the inside, and then this is the main shaft. So alright, so we'll get us a towel on here so we can protect our seals. We'll put him like that right there. And then now we can take the top off. So we'll take these 4 bolts out. And these wouldn't come out because that little flange was in the way. So now we can take them out of there. So that should free everything up to take this last piece off right here. So now we can pump it. Get freed that up. So there is an orientation here, as you can see. Right here is where the fluid comes out, and then right over here is an O-ring that allows that fluid to come in. So this guy's got to get put on there a particular way. It's actually got to sit with that right over that seal right there. And so then we know the orientation of it, and we can bolt it back down. So now looks like we got a counterbalance in here, and that's probably why those other holes were down there on that plate. And there's also a little guide piece right there, so we'll set that on this side. So what's left is the pump part, and it looks like it's a little piston pump. So it's got little pistons, so as it rotates, that guy is off center and he pushes the little pistons. Alright, so to get the inner pump part out of here, I'm hoping to get it out in one piece, the whole unit come out, that way I don't lose my pistons and everything. And it should just be sitting in there, so what I'm going to do is turn it upside down and hold my hands here so none of the shaft will come out. And then I'm just going to wrap on the case here and see if I can't walk that whole unit out of there in one piece. And you can see it's starting to slide out. So all I'm doing is just thumping around on it and trying to get that to slide out of there. Without flying all over the room. So once we get it out far enough, maybe we can pull it, and then out comes the entire pump. And so there's the whole pump assembly, and we noted the orientation of it when it goes in there. It goes like this, and then that guy right there lines up to this little tab right here. So we got to keep our orientation right, because we can put the pump in the wrong way and then it's not going to work. So that goes like that right there with this little tab and the green right there. And so we slide the whole pump out, and it's got a O-ring on the back that's got to get replaced, the little seal ring right there. And we should be able to now get to our front seal. So there's our front seal hiding way up inside of there. We've got another O-ring on the outside, so quite a bit of rebuild goes into this one. Alright, so with everything apart, it's time to see if we can push that little seal out. And it's got part numbers on it, so I took pictures of all that because it might damage them and I can't get the parts off. But it's a 19 by 30 by 7 seal, and it looks to be a double lip, but I'll be able to look the part numbers up and see, and maybe I can get that seal, as well as even maybe the bushings. I can push them out and put new bushings in and just do a full rebuild with the other gaskets. But at a minimum, maybe I can find this seal, and then I can have it where at least it doesn't leak anymore, and then we can put it on the shelf as a spare. But I do see right here inside of there, if I zoom in real close, let me zoom in So if I can get the light just right, you can see inside of there, it looks like that bearing has started to break down. And maybe what was causing the problem, if that bearing is going away, then it's pushing on the seal. So might need to be looking for some bearings as well for this one. Alright, so to get the seal out, looks like it comes out from the outside, so that makes it real nice. What I got to do is just push down on it from the inside and see if I can knock it out. So let's get set up here. And I got a screwdriver that I dulled down a little bit flatter. And so I got to get inside of here and catch that lip and then just try to push on the seal. So we just got to go around and around, catching the edge of that gasket seal the best we can. Try to see if we can force that seal out of there. We're not worried about tearing it up because we already got the part numbers and we already know it's bad, so we just got to get it out of there at this point. Now it's starting to move. You can see that the gasket is starting to come out of its groove, so I just need to spin around right here and maybe one more thump. And no more gasket. So now all we got to do is see if we can find this gasket and all the other O-rings and possibly this bearing right here. I can push that out as well. Well, alrighty, there's how you take one apart. Now if we can find a rebuild kit, we'll be able to put it back together. So that'll be the trick. So we'll start looking for this. This is a LUK 440, I believe. It's got the BMW part numbers on it, but I'll look it up to see. But I believe it's a 440, and we'll see if we can find a rebuild kit.